Howdy, I'm Karen, and I'm an out entrepreneur.
Hello, Out Bosses. Rhodes Perry here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Out Entrepreneur, a weekly podcast where I get to interview today's most inspiring LGBTQ bosses crushing it in business. And on this week's episode, we are welcoming Karen Orr, who is calling into the program all the way from Madison, Wisconsin. So Karen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's super exciting from my end of things.
Yeah. Well, I'm thrilled to have you. I'm really excited to learn about your business. And I want to know, are you ready to inspire fellow out bosses?
I am ready to inspire fellow out bosses, people who want to be entrepreneurs, dog lovers, everybody. I am here.
I love it. And you've already foreshadowed a little bit about your business. So for those who want to know just a little bit more, Karen Orr is the founder and CEO of PAWS by Oh No LLC. I love that name. Her company makes My Canine, which is a portable cellular baby monitor in cars for dogs. And tragically, thousands of dogs die each year in America from heat stroke due to being unattended in a vehicle. And Karen's product works to reduce this sad reality. And so when Karen isn't working on her business, she parents 2 human kids, a dog, 2 cats, and a horse. That's also super fascinating. So I hope we get into some of that. And Karen, to kick us off, why don't you tell us just a little bit more about your business and what makes it unique?
You bet. So I was given this idea as a gift from above a couple years ago, because we travel everywhere with our dogs. And I'm like, wow, yeah, my 2-year-old has got a monitor in the nursery at night when I lay her down, and I can watch her at night. When I travel with my dogs, why can't there be something like that in my van? And yes, I am a minivan mom, and I'm very proud of that, but it's okay. And so I sat on it for about a year, and I'm like, well, my day job is a physician assistant in surgery, and I'm like, somebody will invent it. And I just kept getting the calling. I am asking you to save animals from dying of heat stroke every day. And in my family, if you don't know the answer, it's suck it up, buttercup, figure it out. And so I went to the Consumer Electronics Show. It wasn't out there. And that month, which was January, and that month I started my business.
Wow. So you're very fresh. You've just started. You saw a gap in the market and you wanted to fill it, and you have that fire in your belly. What are some of those signs that you get? Because I know that there's some folks who are tuning into the show and they're waiting for those signs to happen. So what was that kind of consistent thing that kept showing up for you again and again?
Well, for me, honestly, the biggest thing was that I wanted it. I know that being in the dog community, because I've been a dog and an animal lover my whole life, that people do need this. And we actually had a tragedy here in Wisconsin. It was a police canine by the name of Wix. And there was a hardwired unit in the police unit. They were at a PGA tournament. The officer went back to the vehicle every 10 minutes or so. And it was a perfect storm tragedy. The air conditioning unit failed. The monitoring system failed. And he lost that dog. Wow. And it's one where it's like, okay, this needs to stop. Yeah. This is absolutely unacceptable. That was part of my calling. It's like, somebody needs to do this, and I can do this, and I'm going to do it. And here I go.
It's looking at technology that already exists, right? So because you're a parent of 2 human kids, one of which is still a younger baby, maybe toddler now.
She's 2.
Yep. Right? And still the importance of that baby monitor, which, baby monitors have been around for quite some time, at least a couple of decades, if not more. And you noticed, again, that there's nothing that's comparable for dogs. And sometimes, I think, like, we don't leave children in... hopefully not, but we don't leave children in cars alone, right? But it seems like if you roll the window down in your car, there's some level of acceptance of leaving your dog there to run a quick errand or something like that. And
I think that's actually a fallacy. People think that, but you can park in the shade, you can roll all the windows down, and there's a ton of research out there, Rhodes, that shows that nope, you can increase by over 40 degrees in less than an hour in that environment, because it's all about airflow, and it's what we call the feels like temperature, which basically you have to take temperature and humidity together. And you're talking about animals that can have either a single or double coat, and animals sweat usually not like humans. They sweat through panting and through their paws. And it's one where, no, there's just fallacy out there. But I will say we completely support the legislature that's out there to rescue animals. Absolutely, positively. We're on the far left end of the spectrum in that we want to prevent these tragedies from happening. And so that's why we came out. And you're right. This is not, I didn't, invent anything. I took what was out there, shuffled it around a little bit and said, okay, here's I My Canine.
Yeah, well, I'm already learning a ton, so thank you. I am the caretaker of 2 indoor cats, so that shows you how much I know about dogs. And, that's really a fascinating piece of information that you shared where, when I'm walking, I'm at the grocery store, I see the windows down, I see a dog kind of looking okay, and I'm like, all right, the caretaker is going to be back to the car pretty soon. And, it just seems like the monitor is the peace of mind. This piece of technology that you're introducing can help really prevent situations that can go sideways what seems like pretty quickly. And
it can. It absolutely can. I'll tell you that in researching my product as well, there's a reason why on our logo there's a dog and a cat. And that's because, Rhodes, there are so many people that travel with their cats. I never knew this. Wow. And it makes sense. Cats are small. You're not going to see them in the vehicle as much. And they're not like dogs. They don't want to stick their head out the window. But there are so many people that travel with cats. And if you just sit there and think about working dogs in America, so that would be military, Secret Service, police canine units, search and rescue, cadaver dogs, cybersecurity dogs. There's over 1 million in America. They have to work Monday through Sunday. They have to work rain or shine. They have to work whether they're in Wisconsin or whether they're in Arizona. And so this isn't just a furry family pet parent issue. This is a safety issue for all animals in transport, because you had mentioned in the beginning that I have a horse as well. We can put I My Canine as well in the horse trailer when traveling with horses to make sure that they're safe and when they get to the venue and stuff, because it's portable and it's cellular. So we're actually on a mission. Our niche market are dogs, but we're on a mission to save all animals in transport.
I love this. So when I was talking about this concept of your business to a couple of folks before the interview, everyone had one of the first questions that they asked was, how does this technology work? So kind of walk us through where does the monitor live, in a vehicle or in whatever kind of transportation that you're taking with the animal? Is it on the animal or is it nearby? And, what's kind of the distance that frequency can go out between where
you betcha.
Yeah.
Great questions. So since this is kind of a new concept, that's why I also try and tell people about the baby monitor, because they can get that idea in their head. That runs off of Wi-Fi at your home. Well, with our device, what you do is on your personal cell phone, you have the I My Canine user app. Then on the dog, there's a Bluetooth temperature tag. And then in the vehicle, depending on what type of vehicle you have and where your dog likes to kind of rest when you're away from the vehicle, you can mount it either on the windshield. You can mount it if you put your dog, if you got an SUV and it's in the back, you can mount it on the window. And it's just another cell phone that has I My Canine camera app on it. And that's what makes it act as the baby monitor. The tag that is on the dog has a 15-foot range. And that means that when that dog is within 15 feet of that monitor, that cell phone, that second cell phone in your vehicle, it says, yup, I'm connected. We've tried to put as many safety features in this as possible. So you will go away from the vehicle. You have the ability to see, hear, talk with your dog when you're away. You will know the temperature, humidity, feels like temperature, and it is cellular. My dog can be here in Madison, Wisconsin. I can be in Japan, and I will still get the connection because it's cellular. And it's portable, so it can go anywhere as long as you have a cell phone. So if you're running to Best Buy, your dog can stay in the car there. If you're out camping and you're in your RV or your camper, your dog can be there as long as you have a cell signal. If you're at a national forest where most dogs are not allowed to go on the trails, you absolutely can leave your dog in your tent as long as you have a cell signal. You can then go hiking all you want, and you'll be in contact with your dog.
I love this idea. I think this is super smart. This leads me to, I've watched enough episodes of Shark Tank to understand there's this whole patent process and then the prototype. And I know that this concept, you got started in January. So you're still in the very, very early phases of pushing out this product. Walk us through.
We're 2 years old, Rhodes.
Oh, you're
we started
two.
in
Okay.
16. Yep, we're 2 years old.
2016. Okay. So you're 2 years old. Thank you for that correction. So walk us through these kind of early months of pulling together this business. How did you get started, kind of like Cliff Notes version, and where are you at now? And where do you want to be in the next 5 years?
Absolutely. So the first thing I did was, because my master's degree is in medicine, it's not an MBA or anything like that. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of smart people out there, and I connected with my Madison entrepreneurial community. And I was referred to someone who is in the software department. They have a representative in Madison, but they're a very reputable software company out of Georgia called Heiko Solutions. And they have helped me to, not only did we develop a minimum viable product proof of concept, we actually made a small, well, somewhat small, cellular monitor device. But in order to go to market, we knew we would have to make a couple of iterations on that. And we did a crowdfunding with regard to using one of the national cellular companies in America. I'm not allowed to say which one. And we were getting ready to sign the contract. And unfortunately, they changed their price point 2 weeks beforehand. And I knew it was going to cause us to fail, and it did. It was a huge failure on Kickstarter, but it was one of the best things that could have happened to us. We felt sorry for 24 hours, and then we said, okay, how are we going to make it work? And we pivoted to this new plan. And the good news about that is that our device goes on your family plan. So if where you live, AT&T works for you, great. Put it on AT&T. If it's Verizon, great. Ting, doesn't matter. But it goes on your family plan. And we've been very data conscientious in that it does not use up a lot of data at all. Subsequently, the limiting factor is the hardware tag on the dog collar that is the temperature tag. And I've cashed out retirement with regard to this, and we are bootstrapping. You mentioned Shark Tank. We did an open call in Chicago about 1.5 years ago. And because we were pre-revenue, they're like, well, come back and talk to us once you actually have some revenue. Okay, I get it. I understand that. But where we're at right now is in America, you have to be certified with anything that has an RFID, so radio frequency, which is what the tag talks to the cell phone in the car as the monitor. We are just starting our FCC testing. The government lets us test 5 tags. Once we are certified, then we can mass produce our device, and we shall. We have a website, and pretty much it's connecting with the folks who need our product right now. We are in the rounds for a couple of accelerators that aren't afraid of hardware to try and hopefully help us out in the beginning phases. But if not, we're just going to keep chirping away, connecting with people who understand our mission, understand our product, want our product. And then 5 years from now, I'll be honest, Rhodes, 5 years from now, I expect we'll already be exited because it's such a common sense product in the market that needs to be there. I don't fathom that I will be at this business in 5 years because somebody will have purchased us.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask you to explain the exited, but you're essentially building this thing to sell it because it's such a slam dunk. And a couple of things that I think are worth kind of highlighting from what you just shared is number one, you connected with your local entrepreneurial community to say, I have this idea, help me, right? And you found your people and they pointed you in the right direction. You also were quick to kind of say, these are the things I'm good at. Here's my idea. I have no idea how to develop this app. And you outsource that, to the tech firm in Atlanta, right? And they were working with you to develop this product. You then took it to crowdfunding. That didn't work in the way that you envisioned it. And rather than kind of like closing down, giving up, you use that as information points to just test and change. And
the Lord closes a door, he opens a window. It's just my job to try and find that window. And so we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that any kind of failure in business, it's just more information and you take a turn and you try something new. And I think like also your willingness, like you see this vision from the beginning and you see you know where you're going. You've got like a North Star and to get the hardware for the dog, you're willing to use your own resources right now to live out this dream, this vision. And I think that that's really, really fantastic and that you have this vision for 5 years. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that for listeners who may have ideas just like yours, where there is nothing in the market that's solving this problem that people seem to have, a common problem. And, I'm just encouraging other people, if you see that, if you see these gaps, be resourceful, be resourceful like Karen, and good things will come from it. So Karen, was there anything else you wanted to add to that might be helpful for people to think through kind of developing a product that doesn't exist in the world?
It could be that it doesn't exist. It could be that you have a different spin on it. And, you've nailed it in the sense that look at your help that's close to you and around you. There's also a lot of great reading material online about a startup and what you need to do. And then honestly, Rhodes, when I went to the Consumer Electronics Show, That was 4 venues in Vegas, and there were just thousands and thousands of different products out there. And that was my research. That was my definitive. If I can't find it at the Consumer Electronics Show, then that means I need to go forward. But doing research in terms of what's out there, what's it take, connections that need to be made, that's the biggest thing. And then honestly, it is a bit of a leap of faith. You just got to go.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. But it's one where you do your research, you make the best decision you can, you talk to people. And if you believe in it, because it's going to be one of the hardest things you ever do, but if you believe in it, you just go.
Yes. Just kind of take that action and
Yep.
Don't get ready to get ready, as we had one other guest on our show say before, which I love. Just do it.
So that's what I say is some people enjoy the idea of being an entrepreneur, but around here we call those wantrepreneurs. And it's not the same thing. You just gotta make it happen.
Yeah. And that's a question that I have to follow up. So you have this idea, you definitely see this as being a massive success, and that you will exit pretty quickly once the product is out, recognizing that someone will buy the company, buy the concept pretty quickly. So my question for you, knowing that you also, this is a passion project right now. You are employed as a physician assistant. So do you see yourself continuing down the track of starting other businesses after this? Or will you stay as a physician's assistant and kind of enjoy that work and all of the wealth that you've accumulated from this fabulous business idea?
A great question. I will tell you, I believe that that our company right now does have the great possibility of an exit. But if it doesn't, I have to run it. And so I will just keep running it because it's going to happen. Because you're right. I don't have a desire to own an island in the Bahamas. I have a desire to save animals. And I will tell you, I have had that magical dog. I have had that dog. It was my best friend. She was with me for 18 years. Life was just great. She saved my life twice. And this is my mission, to give back to her. And I know everybody who has had that magical dog understands exactly what I'm talking about. And if we don't get an exit, that's okay. I'm going to keep running with this because we're going to save animals. In terms of what will I do, I'm very blessed that I have the ability to help people in their time of need when they have surgery. And I enjoy it very much. But I will tell you, there's an entrepreneur in me, and I have 2 other things on the back burner that are licensed and can be single solo devices out there that, again, are not, one's in healthcare and one's in baby care. That when I get all this wrapped up, those are the next 2 things on my list. So I could potentially still practice as a physician assistant, but for sure the next 2 things are coming to market as well.
Thank you for sharing a little bit more about your passion for doing this work and sharing your relationship that you had with your dog, and also it's clear. I mean, you've got the entrepreneurial bug. You've gone down this path in developing this product, and you're continuing to be creative and generating new ideas. So you've answered my question. So it seems like you will be staying on this path for quite some time. So I want to switch gears and talk a little bit more about what brings you to the Rainbow family, as I like to say, as it relates to the work that you're doing now. So you've started this concept, you've started your business 2 years ago, and you're appealing to dog lovers globally, right? Who
Yes.
may be interested in funding this idea. And so I'm curious, in your interactions with trying to raise funding for this brilliant idea, are there times where you feel like you have to censor some parts of yourself in terms of talking about your family or your sexual orientation or your gender identity, whatever brings you to the LGBT family? Do you ever find yourself feeling like, I'm in this business meeting with this group of people and I don't think that they're going to quite be friendly, or it might jeopardize, securing some funding? And if you found yourself in any of these situations, how did you work around it?
Yes, great questions. And I will tell you, it's like a lot of things in life, Rhodes. It's who's before me, and I'm true to myself, but that doesn't mean I'm not cautious about how I word things in certain ways. I have never been confused. I have known all along since first grade, I had a crush on Mary Beth Spencer, and no confusion there. My dad is a retired colonel in the Marine Corps, and we grew up in the 70s. And you know what? I may not have been out loud and proud, but I knew who I was and I was true to whom I was. And I carry that forward. I am married to the most amazing woman on the face of this earth. We've been together 21 years and we have 2 children. Any way you slice it, that is a part of my life. They come first no matter what, along with the good Lord, because he helps me in everything that I do. But with that said, I tell people that if they want to come on board, so if they're offering to talk about money and stuff, I let them know who I am, because I believe in America, we have the right to be who we are, say who we are. But I'm always conscious that from a business standpoint, I need to make sure that I partner with people who are right for the business. And so I have come up with the way that I am comfortable talking with people about my lifestyle, wrong word for it, but it's what the accepted word is out there. And I will tell people, and it's usually men, because angels and VCs that I've gone before have been men. It's very few women that I've been able to make appointments with. But I tell them, I don't want to offend you, but I need you to know that my spouse is a lady. We've been together 21 years and we have 2 wonderful children. I said, I think that's important, because if we're going to go into business, you can ask anybody. When you go into business with somebody, it's almost like a marriage unto itself. And I am not going to walk down that path with somebody who is not comfortable with who I am. And I think that that's important for me to get that out there, because honestly, maybe my mission is to help that person who might have some issues realize, you know what? Your feelings are not founded. I'm just a person like everybody else. Maybe it's that, nope, it's not going to be a great marriage. And maybe they're like, yep, I don't care. Let's go. I love your idea. Mm-hmm. But being true to myself, being true to my family, and being honest is the way that I've dealt with this issue. I might word it one way or another, but for sure it's out there, because you need to know who I am, because from a business standpoint, it's a hard enough road when you like each other a lot. If you don't like each other for whatever reason, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. It goes back to like, know, and trust. And yep. I really like the kind of concrete guidance that you shared in terms of leading with who you are and engaging, talking about your product, meeting with lots of very powerful people with resources that can back your vision. And these tend to be men. I'm imagining a lot of straight white men who have a lot of money, right? And that can be an intimidating environment altogether, to be, a member of identity groups that are not that, right? So to be a woman, to be a part of the queer community, carrying these lived experiences, just to sit in that room, you could easily feel like the other, right? And the fact that even though these people have the money and the bridge to get to where you want to be, you're still leading with who you are and opening up that conversation to say, just so that here's a little bit about my family, here's some pictures of like our dogs and, whatever, all of the great stuff that you've accumulated over 21 years in building a family together, and just seeing their reactions. And you kind of can tell, even with the nonverbals, of, is this going to work for you or not? And it goes back to, there's enough fish in the sea, I guess, when it comes to business partnerships, and you just want to find the right ones that are really going to allow you to shine and be who you are.
I'll tell you though, Rhodes, also with that, I use our community to my benefit. So when we talk during these meetings and we talk about our target market and who's going to buy our product and who's out there, I absolutely will throw out the demographics of the LGBTQ community. And we love our animals. We are willing to spend extra money on our animals to make sure they're safe. And it absolutely is a target market for I My Canine. And so from a business standpoint, when I sit there and I propose that to the people, then they realize, oh, hey, wait a minute. Because she is a member of this community, she speaks to this community will support her. Yes. And so it actually is a win-win from a business standpoint.
Absolutely. And you're doing this kind of psychoeducation for them around like the power of the LGBT market, right? Where, close to $1 trillion of annual purchasing power, the reality of how loyal we are to brands that are inclusive of us, to a point where we're willing to spend a little bit more or to travel a little bit further to support a product that includes us, right? And so
absolutely.
I think that's super smart. So thank you for doing that education. I'm sure you're opening up a lot of eyes. And I do think it's smart, like what you're saying, of leveraging your community. We had on the show, this was a couple episodes ago, but a member from the Gangels, right? So LGBT investors, largely gay, cisgender guys, right? But coming together to recognize there's a lot of us with really great business ideas, and how do we pull together our funds to support fellow LGBT business owners and getting off the ground, right? And so that's another way of thinking about community and how to leverage it. And I really appreciate what they're doing. And I hope
Absolutely.
that you're connected with them. And if not, afterwards we'll make those connections happen. But yeah.
Rising tide raises all boats.
Absolutely.
And we can help each other out, but we always have been able to. If we stick together and help each other out, we're all just going to make life better for everybody.
100% agree with that. So on the positive side, staying in that direction, I also like to ask guests what they think may be LGBT superpowers in business. And so I'd like to extend that question to you in that, given all of your lived experiences, the fact that you came out in the 70s, all of the joys of being a part of the LGBT community and all of the challenges, especially with considering social stigma and developing resiliencies around that, what might you think are some of the advantages gained from those lived experiences that help you stand out as a business owner?
The biggest thing I'm going to say is that I learned to be true to myself, and that I am a masterpiece. God made me. He doesn't make junk, and he loves me just as much as he loves the straight white male venture capitalists across the table from me. We're all worthwhile. We all have value. We all are trying to do our best. And so for me, it was putting me on an even playing field with everybody. I'm not better. I'm not worse. A part of me is the LGBTQ community, and I'm okay with that. But I'm okay being me. There's nothing wrong with me. And let's move forward. Because honestly, it's not the way it is nowadays. But in my mind, it's like, this really isn't that big of a deal. Let's just put us behind us and let's move forward on our mission. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to live that all along.
And would you say, from your experiences of being a part of the Rainbow family, that just having to self-actualize who you are, that, having, a different kind of script than maybe what your parents thought, like the path that you would go down would be, do you feel like that helps you get to the place where you're at, where it's recognizing the humanity in people across the table from you that might be different?
I do. And I will also tell you that from an entrepreneur standpoint, it's a very lonely life. I mean, everybody wants to be around you when things are going great. And, they talk about overnight successes. Well, an overnight success in the startup world is about 5 years. Well, it's a lonely 5 years, let me tell you that. Yeah. And you need to be comfortable with who you are, all parts of who you are. Doesn't mean there's not room for improvement, but you've got to be secure in who you are and what you're doing. And growing up in the environment that I did, that absolutely helped me to what I feel is weather the hard moments in this entrepreneurial life.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. In the times where you may feel like you're isolated or you may not have community. I mean, especially pre-internet era, for LGBT folks, that's real, right? And then
I am so thankful that kids nowadays don't have to do that.
Yes, and I like that analogy that you share with the world of entrepreneurship, where oftentimes it feels like we might be twisting in the wind because people don't understand our vision or what we're trying to do or accomplish, and yet that these kind of resiliencies that we've gained from being a part of the Rainbow family are actually helping us navigate the current reality, the challenges of being business owners. And I think the key takeaway, regardless of if you're LGBT, you're a business owner, or you're both, is that it's an illusion, that isolation, and that there is community that's ready to support you. And you had shared, early on in the interview, just how quickly you got plugged into the Madison entrepreneurial community. And, if you wanted to get plugged into the LGBT entrepreneur community in the state, you've got the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin that's kicking butt, right?
And I am a member of that, and we are halfway through our application for the NGLCC, and they recently had applications for a startup pitch contest, and we have applied to that as well. So the opportunities are out there.
Yes, yeah. Well, I hope that you get into the Pitch Fest. That's one of my favorite parts of it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take a quick sponsorship break. And when we come back, we're going to get the opportunity to get to know Karen just a little bit better. Aspiring out bosses, are you struggling with taking that first entrepreneurial leap? Does the imposter syndrome prevent you from getting started? Have you considered seeking support, but you're just not sure where to turn? Look no further. The Out Entrepreneur now offers a coaching and mentorship program where you can access support and strategies to shift your mindset from employee to entrepreneur. If you're looking for accountability and a mentor who successfully busted out of the 9-to-5 lifestyle, let's schedule a time to talk today. Visit www.outentrepreneur.com and look for show notes from today's episode to schedule a call. Again, the URL is www.outentrepreneur.com. Together, let's welcome you to the wonderful world of being an out boss. Okay, so we are now back into the program. And Karen, before we jump into the boss mindset, I wanted to check in with you to ask you a couple more questions on being a part of the Rainbow family. So kind of considering some of the challenges that you had addressed about, navigating how out to be in business, and then also looking at some of those superpowers that we bring to the world of business. What would you want our listeners to take away to inspire them to be more authentic in their work, whether they're starting on their own business right now or they're just thinking about it?
I think you need to realize your strengths and weaknesses on many levels. And if you're not comfortable with delivering to someone your business in the sense of connecting with the Rainbow family, you need to work on it. You need to work on a pitch or a 1 or 2 sentence that you can weave into conversations that you absolutely are comfortable with, because you need to be comfortable in your skin. You need to be comfortable with who you are, because that comes across to whomever you're speaking with. And sure, I understand some people like to put it out there and just run with it, but not everybody does. And it's not always the easiest thing. And it's not always just a rainbow issue. It can be the fact that, you're a woman in business. It can be the fact that you don't have a master's degree in business administration. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. Find your weaknesses and you need to work on that so that when you present, you don't have any weaknesses. You are ready to go. But it does take work. But you got to recognize it first. Find a solution that works for you and then move forward.
Yeah. And that recognition is really, really key. Part of being a great leader, part of just being comfortable in your skin is to be self-aware and understand kind of where some of those weaknesses might live and continue to work on them. But just the awareness alone can really make or break how you show up in the world.
And I'll tell you, Rhodes, aside from being part of the Rainbow family, female, I have a very... once people learn that my dad's a colonel in the Marine Corps, they understand me a lot better. But I have I'm not going to necessarily say dominant personality, but it's authoritative. And I need to make sure that when I communicate with people, I make sure that my delivery is very soft. Mm-hmm. And It's because I have to be cognizant of being softer and not so authoritative, because it does get misconstrued as being a woman coming off as being bossy. And I understand that. And do I agree with that? Nope, I sure don't. But do I realize I need to improve on it? Yep, I sure do. And so I try and rehearse things and make sure that my presentation comes across, whether you can see me or not, it comes across exactly as I need the message to be.
Right. And the fact that you're aware of that and kind of showing up, just being mindful of your kind of overall effect
Absolutely.
It's a work in progress, right? Just kind of getting that feedback of like, did I come off this way or not? And that's where kind of business partners always help out of like, yeah, you were fine, or no, you're right, you were a little too much.
You got to have somebody around you that's willing to tell you how it is. If you stink, they're going to tell you stink, and then you listen to it and you're like, okay, I can do better. But if you don't respect them or you don't appreciate who they are, it doesn't matter what they say. So you got to have those folks around you.
Exactly. So one last question before we go into business mindset. And that question is, it's clear that you're a passionate member of the LGBT community. So in business, I know that you're pre-revenue right now. So when sales are happening and the cash is flowing in, I'm curious if you've thought about ways that you could give back to LGBT communities, whether that's locally in Madison or nationally or globally. When you are super profitable, do you have a vision of charitable contributions? I'm sure to animal welfare organizations. I'm sure that's high on the list. But do LGBT nonprofits come into mind? And if so, what are they? What's your vision around that?
Yep, that's a great question. And I will tell you that we do have the vision of a charitable arm. Right now, the one charity we have partnered with is Project Canine Heroes, and that's for police and military dogs that have retired and they still need care. But I also realize what you're talking about, the LGBT, because honestly, I'm very proud that I'm a member of the rainbow family and what's out there. We have on our roadmap gay pride events to go and display I'm My Canine because we know it's a target population. And that's where I envision then becoming more knowledgeable about some of the nonprofits or some of the even for-profits that might need help that are in the rainbow family. There's locally is great, but it's also one where it's, it might be somebody in Montana or that is trying to get off the ground. And if I can help in any way, I would have to say, is it part of my roadmap? Yes. Do I know exactly who I would want to join with yet? No. But I think with the roadmap for business, I'll have the blessing of meeting more people and connecting with whom I need to. And when I do connect, then I will carry that forward.
That's fantastic. We interviewed Ty Walrod on the program a while back, and he's the founder of the Bright Future Funds. And so he does a lot of advisement for business owners, whether they're small startups or very large corporations, around charitable giving. So he has a good lay of the land if you're ever interested in kind of the LGBT
Thank
organization.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm happy to do those connections afterwards.
That'd be great.
But really, really good interview to kind of tune into, because that's one of the things I really like to ask around, just kind of this arm of social responsibility and the role that businesses like ours can really play to kind of level the economic playing field for a lot of LGBT folks who are struggling. So I'm glad you're thinking about it, and Ty's a really good person to chat with on that.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so jumping into business mindset now, and
Yes.
and I particularly like to explore the concept of imposter syndrome or imposter complex, if you've heard of those phrases before. So I'm curious for you, when you had this concept, you got started 2 years ago, did feelings of you're not ready yet, or you're not good enough, or who am I to do this, did any of those kind of like common thoughts that pop up for a number of entrepreneurs, was that something that you had to contend with? And if so, how did you work around them?
So I did have to contend with it, and I still have to contend with it, but I am truly fake it till you make it. Yeah. And I will say that because, especially when you are first starting out, you have to put a value on your business and you have to make projections. And pardon my French, but some of those projections are pull it out your butt, because you got to start someplace and there are no statistics. And that, for me, I am very much a scientific person in terms of I like things logical. I like things that are factual. I like things that I can research, which is left-brained, and my spouse is very right-brained. And so it's one where I have to sit there and say, from a business standpoint, there are a lot of unknowns, and you have to pick a point to start. And I do believe that with this business, we have the ability to be global. Now, you're talking with a gal who is sitting in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't have this big office building or anything. I'm still bootstrapping, but where am I? I am absolutely a global company, because I've got to have that roadmap. I've got to know where I'm going, and it keeps me on track for what I'm doing. And do I doubt? Sure, I doubt, because right now I don't have anybody to gauge, okay, somebody else is doing this and I've got a better idea. No, this is a new idea that's coming to the market. But I tell myself, I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in the mission that it is trying to solve, and I need to keep going. But all the time it's that, wow, can I do this? Am I going to fail? And the answer is, if I don't try at all, I do fail. And I just need to keep moving forward, and I need to doing the best that I can, because I've got to save animals from dying of heat stroke.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that your business is so kind of centered around that mission of saving animals is a driving factor. I like what you were saying as well, of having this vision of seeing yourself and where you're going in the future, and just saying, this is a global company. I mean, the power in just saying that, probably initially when you first said that, I was like, really? This, I guess it is. It started in my mind, but it can be. And the fact that you believe in that and that you're working towards that every day, that's got to be a huge motivator just to keep going and to figure out, to answer all those questions of, initially this felt like fake it till you make it. And now like people are turning to you as an expert in this area and really trying to prevent animal deaths, right?
Exactly. But we've also been to a number of shows, and one was a police conference and vendor show in Vegas. And they had, I think the last count was 28 countries were represented. And there was the gentleman who was in charge of the military and police force for Spain. And through an interpreter, he was talking with me and he goes, "Tell me when you're ready for market because we need your product." And I've connected with people from the UK. I've connected with people from Australia. And that's actually through LinkedIn, which is a lovely little platform just to connect with my population globally. And it reaffirmed the research for me that it's not just a problem in America. It's a problem worldwide, which is why then with the format that we have now, it can easily transition to a global solution to a global tragedy. And you're right. You need to say it out loud and you need to get comfortable with it because you need to know where you're going. I got great advice from somebody one time and they said, "What's the highest level you can dream? Now take it 2 more levels."
I love that.
So it's higher than I even thought. And it's absolutely true because you have got to just keep reaching because you got to know where you're climbing to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's busting out of those limiting beliefs. And I think that's really, really important to constantly challenge yourself to dream bigger, and to not limit yourself in that. When you do get stuck, who do you turn to? Is it hard for you to ask for help in business? Whether or not it's hard or not, when you finally are able to ask for help, who do you turn to?
That's a great question, and it's my true answer, and you can accept it or not. But honestly, a lot of it is the good Lord. I pray because this is truly walking with a lot of faith for me personally. Because I have cashed out retirement on this, and we have 2 children, and I worry, am I robbing from their college funds and their inheritance? And it's one where it's not the easiest thing for me to confide in people. I still am trying to look for someone who is a good mentor for our company, and that has still eluded me, although I realize that it's very important. And I will tell you that it's one where you've got to talk to somebody, that's for sure. If it's your spouse, great. If it's your best friend, great. If it's a business partner, great. But you got to talk to somebody to sound off in those moments when you're scared and when you're alone. And for me, I like to, again, the research side of things. So I read a lot about what to do and what needs to be done. And at times when we hit a lull point, part of my faith is just be still. And I have the grace for today. What that means is, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's knocking down my door every day. I'm making moves every day. What it means is that sometimes I may not see something happening, but as long as I keep moving towards my goal, whether it's making connections, whether it's finding somebody to produce the housing for our Bluetooth tag, it's doing something that takes me to the goal that I want to get to and not being diverted with shiny objects. We're in Madison, and there's a lot of great startup things that are going on, and I have to evaluate those and say, is that going to further me towards my goal, or is that just taking time away from other things? And that's very hard. It's the shiny object syndrome. And for me, it's learning to filter and just stay focused and drive towards that goal, and to be willing to reach out to people who are my target market, but who I never thought I could talk with. An example is Bill Braun is the vice president of Nestle Purina North America. And I reached out to him on LinkedIn. I mean, seriously, this guy is huge in Nestle Purina. I got a meeting with him because I figured the worst he was going to do is say no.
Yep.
And he said yes.
That's amazing. So, yeah. And
just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you've mentioned LinkedIn a couple of times. That's actually how we got connected. And such a great way to find people that, can support you along that journey. And, I like that you mentioned your spirituality, where it's just like this doing business is a big leap of faith. You're trusting in yourself. Number one, you believe in yourself, and you're taking risks, right? And so having that kind of framework, whatever that might be, is important. I'm also my partner is a therapist, so I'm like, it's always good to have like a neutral person in your life as well, if that's helpful for you. And, seeking answers, through books, the other people who've been through it. So even if you don't have immediate mentors right now, or you haven't found like the right business coach or whatever the thing is, that the greats have written books around how to do this stuff, right? And so taking time out, and maybe when people aren't beating down your doors, like you said, where you're just taking a moment to pause and to reflect on where you're at, that's always a good time to pick up a classic, a book that, at least someone has figured out something where you can kind of glean.
And I hug my dog. And my hardest times, I hug my dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just, greets me at the door every day, no matter what, rain or shine, and happy to see me, loves to see me, wants to do stuff with me. And that's a big resource for me, are my animals. They give respite to my soul.
Yes.
When I'm troubled.
Yes, 100%. There's nothing. Yeah, I think like if you're lucky enough to have a pet or an animal in your life, that kind of unconditional love is good support in and of itself. We are now going into the bonus round where we'll have the chance to get to know Karen a little bit better, gain some insights on how we can bring our whole selves to work, and then learn one way that we can stay in touch with Karen's business. All right, Karen, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
I am.
All right, so let's do this. Okay, so finish this sentence for me. As an out boss, I believe.
Be true to yourself.
Love it. And do you have a mantra or quote that you reference that helps you stay motivated in your business?
Always remember, never forget that a small group of committed people can change the world, because it's the only thing that ever really has.
Margaret Mead.
Paraphrasing. Yes, I'm paraphrasing from Margaret Mead.
Yes, love her. So can you share one personal habit that helps you master yourself in your business?
I pray every day.
Nice. Name one thing that you readily delegate in your business to stay focused on what you're good at.
I outsource when I can't do something, example being the software.
Yes. That was I'm so glad that you shared that early on in the interview. That's hard for some of us to do, especially, pre-revenue, the cash flow isn't there, just having that faith and trusting this is an area I want to develop the app. That's not my thing. I'm not going to go to coding school. I'm going to lean on people who know how to do this. So
yep.
Awesome. What are you most grateful for, being a business owner who is also an out boss?
Finding something that really calls to my soul. I've always connected with animals, and that's partly what keeps me going in the hard time, is that I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, 100%. So 2 more questions for you. Can you share one piece of advice to inspire the next generation of out bosses to take that first entrepreneurial leap?
Do it. Just do it.
Yep. Just keep making forward progress, right?
That's right. Don't spin your wheels and daydream and, I do this. No, do something tangible, whether it's research the market, whether it's talk to people who are in the market. And here's something I learned. It was hard to accept in the beginning. I thought my idea for I My Canine was so brilliant. People would want to steal it. No, people are so busy doing their own thing. You could have the best idea in the world, but it doesn't matter. They're busy doing their own thing. They're not going to take your idea. Talk to people about your idea.
Yes.
That way you'll get honest feedback. But you need to make it happen. You need to do something in a forward motion that's tangible.
Yeah, I think there's something about what you just said that reminded me of an Eleanor Roosevelt quote that I will probably butcher, but the essence of it is that if people realized how little other people are paying attention to what they're doing, then they're probably more likely to be authentic and just be who they want to be or who they are. And I think that extends to business ideas, like you said. If you've got a great idea, it takes a lot of energy to make that idea come into a reality, right? And that's the action piece. That's the piece that, like you said, just do it. Just keep moving towards executing on the idea, because that's the essence of doing the thing. And because how many ideas do we have every minute, as entrepreneurs? Like, I think about things all the time like this, but it's like, oh, someone else will do that, or I don't have the time, or that's not within my focus. So you're right.
I will also tell you that the Uda sisters are evil. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. They've never helped anybody. Don't let them in your life.
Yeah, that's another good one. Okay, so Karen, last question for you. I first want to thank you so much for your time and for inspiring out bosses with your story. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share with us one way that we can stay in touch with you and learn more about your business?
Absolutely. So our website is www.imycanine, so IMYK and the number 9.com. We do have a blog. We are on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat. And we would love to hear from you, love to hear any ideas you have, love to say howdy to you. But that's the easiest way right now for y'all to stay in contact with us.
Awesome. And I will be at the NGLCC conference, and I would love to connect with you there. I hope you make it to the stage for the Pitch Fest. And for our listeners, I know a lot of you all actually go to the conference as well. So definitely, if you see Karen, before the Pitch Fest, give her some good energy, some good luck.
Come on over and say howdy.
Yeah.
Day or night, it doesn't matter. If I get the blessing of being there, you come over and you say howdy.
Yes, definitely. So take advantage of connecting with Karen in person in Philadelphia later this summer. So for Outbosses, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. It is always my privilege to connect with you and so many inspiring outbosses like Karen. For details from today's conversation, to visit Karen's website, go over to www.outentrepreneur.com and check out those show notes. Again, it's www.outentrepreneur.com. As a next step, subscribe to the podcast. Consider leaving a rating and review in iTunes. That's the best way to get the show known and out to other people. And of course, be sure to share the show with a friend or a loved one. And for now, keep being your authentic selves 100% of the time.